Istishab is derived from the Arabic word suhbah, which means to accompany or attach. In technical definition, istishab is as the major maintenance of the status quo until proof in favor of change is provided. Although there is different definition contributed by the jurists such as Imam Shafi'i and Imam Maliki, those definitions still bring the same meaning of for istishab, which is in more simple definition, istishab refers to presumption of the continuation of both the positive and negative unless proof to the contrary is presented. Although there's different view from different scholars regarding types of istishab, but it is known for 4 types of istishab, which are istishab al-adam al-asli, also known as presumption of original absence. It is the lack of Shariah norms until the validity of Shariah rule is established. In other words, the fact or rule assumed to be absent until proven otherwise. For example, the lack of mandatory 6 prayer for Islam. The next type is istishab al-wujud al-asli, also known as presumption of original presence. It is recorded to the availability of the existing law or reason. Next is istishab al-hukum, also known as presumes the continuity of general rules and principle of law. It is an istishab that assumes the general law and principle of the law remain constant. It assumes that the Shariah provisions on permissibility and prohibition will continue to be valid until proven otherwise. When a ruling for a matter is not available, as long as it is beneficial and pleasant for human being, it will be permissible. Next is istishab al-hukum, known as presume the continuity of general rules and principle of law. It is an istishab that assumes the general law and principle of the law remain constant. It assumes that the Shariah provision on permissibility and prohibition will continue to be valid until proven otherwise. When a ruling for a matter is not available, as long as it is beneficial and pleasant for a human being, it will be permissible. The last type of istishab is istishab al-wasaf, also known as presumed continuity of an attribute. It is a persistence of qualities such as purity, as qualities in clean water will remain unchanged unless changes occur, such as difference in taste or color. For instance, a person uses an ablution to perform prayer. The quality of clean water is assumed to continue until it declines. A mere doubt is, however, insufficient to render the purification process invalid. Meanwhile, uruf derived from Arabic terms defined as custom or knowledge of community. It also can be defined as continuous or sustained practice adapted and accepted in a particular society. In simple phrase, it is a common or customary existed in any form to the people habituated, and it follows along with Islamic teaching. There is also various views regarding types of uruf from Muslim scholars. However, in general, scholars had classified types of uruf into 3 types. First is verbal and practice custom. Verbal uruf refer to people's general agreement on the usage and meaning of words purposes other than their literal meaning. The customary meaning tends to take precedence, and the original or literal meaning is reduced to an exception due to disagreement. For instance, the phrase salah means al-du'a, which is defined as supplication or request. It has in the Quran to describe Muslim obligatory ritual prayer. This second usage eventually becomes dominant to the point where the literal meaning of the word is obscure, while practical uruf contains common continuous practice of the people in daily life and in civil transaction to avoid legal dispute. Next is the general custom and special custom. The general uruf is a common custom that exists all over among all people despite period. For instance, the contract of istisna in areas such clothing and furniture, where it is used everywhere. On the other hand, particular uruf is prevalent in a specific locality or trade professional. This type of uruf is accepted in specific location only. The last type is valid and invalid custom. A valid custom is the custom practiced by people which does not violate Shariah and denies the interests of people without causing corruption, while invalid custom is just the exact opposite of valid custom practice.
Okay, next, the relationship between the istishab and Islamic business transaction. First, istishab al-hukmu al-aslu li asya. Second, istishab al-adamu asli awil bir'ati asliyati. Third, istishab ma dallu al-aqlu wa syar'u ala thubutahu wa istimraruhu. Let's move to the first part. Istishab al-hukmu al-aslu li asya. This is istishab mean that the origin of something is should be unless another proposition prohibits it. This method explains what a thing's legal origin is, should be illegal unless a proposition comes to forbid it. All animals are halal unless prohibited by a proposition. Similarly, unless there is a reason or scripture that forbids it, businesses, activities or products should be original. Based on this method, a bank, for example, can issue a variety of financial products as long as they are not illegal. Second, istishab al-adamu al-asli awil bir'ati al-asliyati. Al-istishab, this section refers to something that is ongoing or long-lasting. This istishab is also defined as a person being exempt from the burdens and obligations of Shariah until there is evidence to show that he or she bears to the responsibility. Example for this section is: A requests that B assist him in storing his goods without any payment or further agreement on the storage method. When the item mysteriously vanishes from the B storage, A decides to issue B for the loss of the item. According to Islamic law, the B should have avoided the charge because he was initially exempt from the responsibility of storing the goods. The goods should be retained by the owner unless there is a payment, which is a new thing that binds his responsibility. It robs you for your original freedom. Wadi'ah savings are Islamic businesses, transactions or contracts that can be associated with this section, in which the bank is considered the custodian and trustee of the fund. And lastly, istihab ma dallu al-aqlu wa syar'u ala thubutahu wa istimraruhu. Al-istishab means that the ruling of the law applies according to the Shariah and the intellect about its substance and permanence. This third category can be linked to the transaction or contract of sale in Islam, which is known as ijarah in Islam. Ijarah is a form of hire purchase. The lessor and lessee must follow all of the pillars of ijarah before carrying out of ijarah contract, including the akad and the lease property. Through to the lease, both the lessee and lessor must adhere to the agreement reached. If one of them violates the agreement, it is possible to cancel the ijarah.
Example of the relationship between istishab and Islamic business transaction. Mudarabah contract. Mudarabah contract is an agreement between Rabbul Mal and Mudarib, which is Rabbul Mal as a capital provider and Mudarib as entrepreneur.
The relationship between the uruf and Islamic business transaction. It can be divided into three categories. The first one is verbal, uruf al-qawli, and practical, uruf al-amali. The second one is general, uruf al-am, and specific, uruf al-khas. And the third one is valid, uruf al-sahih, and invalid, uruf al-fasid. Verbal, uruf al-qawli, and practical, uruf al-amali. Uruf can be understood spontaneously without the need for intermediaries, indicators, which is qarinah or observations. Uruf amali is an act or practice that has become a human habit. Such acts or practices are either in terms of ordinary activities or community activities. For example, the acts that have become customary among human beings, such as buying and selling mu'attah, which is the process of buying and selling without the consent and acceptance. For example, in the case of sale and purchase, if a person finds a price tag on an item such as a watch or jewelry, then he pays the price to the seller and he takes the watch or jewelry without consent and acceptance, then the sale is valid because the act expresses consent or voluntariness in the view of uruf or human custom. General, uruf al-am, and specific, uruf al-khas. Common custom that is prevalent everywhere among all people in a matter regardless of the passage of time. An example of uruf al-am is by al-urban, which is a trading practice that involves down payment.
In this case, the buyer has to pay a portion of the price of the goods purchased to the seller in advance. The deposit will be a gift to the seller if the contract is cancelled, and if the contract is continued, this deposit is counted as part of the payment. This transaction is prohibited and illegal. However, this thing has been a common practice of the international community since time immemorial. By al-Urbun is seen as a necessity and uruf to the community, especially in the present time as a sign or form of commitment in making a sale and purchase agreement. It is intended to avoid losses for the parties transacting with the customers. Valid uruf al-sahih and invalid uruf al-fasid. Uruf al-sahih is common for human beings and does not contradict the nas, shara, ijma, maslahah, and does not lead to harm to any individual or society. For example, trading without ijab and qabul because it does not contradict any nas al-Quran and as-Sunnah. Uruf al-fasid is something that is customary for human beings but contrary to Islamic law, or something that allows things that are haram and forbids things that are halal. Uruf al-fasid is also anything that is against Shariah and brings harm to human beings, as well as does not bring any good, such as loans in the form of usury, either from banks or individuals, gambling, prostitution, and so on. Although these activities have become commonplace in some communities, it is against the Quran and Sunnah. Therefore, such transactions are illegal and must be avoided.
Example of the relationship between uruf and Islamic business transaction. Islamic deposits account. According to legal maxims, under the concept of uruf, which are a matter recognized as a customary among merchants, is treated as if agreed upon between them, and an issue established by custom is like a matter established by a legal book. Islamic deposit accounts are similar to conventional bank accounts in that they rely on depositors' funds as well as their own capital as a key source of funds. Secondly, saving accounts. Qard Hasan, Wadi'ah Yaqdamanah, and Mudarabah are the three Shariah principles applied by Islamic banks by saving accounts. Depositors in the category are individuals who keep money primarily for the sake of the safety but are also influenced by an investing purpose. The bank requests permission to utilize the funds as long as they remain in the bank's possessions. Depositors may withdraw their funds at any time, and the bank assures that all such funds will be refunded. All profit generated by the bank from the use of such funds belongs to the bank's portion. Thirdly is investment account. Investment account is for those who want to save money for investing purposes. Customers with unused funds typically desire a higher rate of return. Investment deposits are the Islamic equivalent of term deposits or time deposits in the conventional banking system. They are also known as participatory accounts or PLS accounts. Current account. In Malaysia, certain commercial banks provide current account facilities that pay interest. There are, however, some requirements that must be met before account holders can receive interest. Islamic banks are permitted by Shariah to provide similar services because this account does not require interest. In Malaysia, the principle is called as Wadi'ah Yaqdamanah or guarantee custody.
Istishab and uruf is an acknowledged secondary sources in Islamic legal system and have give major impact in Islamic business transaction, including finance and banking. In the Quran, our primary sources did not directly mention about Islamic business activity. Hence, Istishab al-Hukum is a type of istishab that has given a significant contribution in the establishment of Islamic banking, while implementation of uruf in Islamic finance can be found during the Prophet Muhammad era.